to Right Now workshop, where we are helping you get relevant, practical information you can apply in your business today. Last month, we had Debbie Kerr, owner of Made in California, talking about how she has adapted her cleaning company to adjust to COVID times. So if you missed that last workshop, please feel free to check it out on our YouTube channel. If you're attending live, a link will go out in the follow-up email, so you can check it out there. Today, we have Derick Roberts, a financial advisor with Edward Jones and the manager of our Simple IRAs for the Accrue team. Derick and his wife were born and raised in Indiana, but Edward Jones relocated them to California, where they're raising their lovely children that you can see right there. Derick has his Series 7, 66, and life insurance licenses. He loves working with business owners to establish the perfect retirement plan for their business and their employees. So Derick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and kind of what you like to do?
All right. So what pushed me toward my passion of helping business owners out is when I moved to California, I found out about this beautiful thing called CalSavers. So do you want me to get into that, or do you want to?
Sure, that was my next question, so let's do it.
All right. So CalSavers is basically our lovely state here in California is mandating retirement plans. You can see right here, they're going to be rolling out in 3 phases, which the first one took official effect yesterday, but it was supposed to take effect pre-COVID, June 30th. You see every year it kind of progresses. So it starts at 100 or more W-2 employees. Obviously it ended yesterday, but if you have 50 or more W-2 employees, you have to have a plan set up in place by June 30th of 2021. And if that didn't hit home to a lot of our small businesses, the next one does. So 5 or more W-2 employees has to have something set up in place by June 30th. There are consequences, but I will definitely get more into that later.
Yeah. So how does, what exactly does this mean for business owners? And then how does it affect them if they don't have something set up, or kind of what does that look like?
Very, very good question. So essentially, if they opt into CalSavers, it's basically them doing all their administrative work. So we've helped a few clients get out of it, and it's a very, very big hassle, but there's no tax benefits to the businesses themselves. There's no matching for the employers. I can't see the screen, sorry. And no, it's okay there. But yeah, it's very owner dependent. There's a lot of administrative work. A lot of the businesses don't understand exactly how much work goes into it. And anytime there's a new hire, they're automatically enrolled unless they literally go and click unenroll. And that's 5% of their take-home pay is what's taken out of their paycheck. So it's essentially a Roth IRA that will travel with them to any employer that does have CalSavers.
So then those employees don't get the tax benefit of that retirement savings, and that employer doesn't get the tax benefit of that retirement savings, and it's more expensive than regular retirement plans.
Yes. So essentially there's a fund cost, there's an admin cost, and there's a state fee as well. So depending on the plan you set up, so let's just say we come in and we realize that, hey, it's going to be a new startup like many plans are going to be. Usually a simple IRA is the best way to go because it doesn't cost the employer anything. It's just there's 2 different ways to set up a simple, depending on if the employer wants to do a match for everyone or if they just want to do a match to people that contribute to the plan.
So everything about CalSavers sounds like downside. So
it is.
For those business owners, you mentioned simple IRAs. Are there other alternatives that they can do that will meet these new requirements and not suck?
Well, very good question, Anna. Sorry for laughing like that, but yes, fantastic. So you can obviously do a simple IRA like we talked about. You can do a safe harbor 401k or regular 401k. So that's other options as well. If you want to have a higher match rate, if you want to put in more every year, there's other things you can also implement into those. They're a lot more flexible, but they're a little more expensive.
So basically this requirement is you have to have some kind of a retirement plan in place for your employees. If you have 50 or less, or 50 or more employees by next June, if you have 5 or more employees by the June after, but it doesn't limit you to only doing that CalSavers. You just have to have some kind of a retirement plan in place. Am I tracking that right?
Yes. So you're going to have to go to the same website where you say, yes, you want to opt into CalSavers. You go to the same website to opt out. Oh, no.
Great.
And, and is it bad? Do I need to move?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Is the power out there?
No. My time's up here.
You have
I'm
to
so-
move. You've
Okay.
been so still. Your office is like, he's clearly not working. He's gone.
15 minutes, no movement. Okay, but the downside is if an employer does not act promptly on this, so there's 2 penalties that go into effect. So after the first 90 days, there's a $250 fee per person. So if you have 59, 67, 90 employees, obviously, or even obviously this year over 100, that's $250 per employee, per eligible employee, which CalSavers is 18 or older and just collecting a wage. I mean, its limitations are basically if you work more than I think 1 hour a week. But then after 180 days, that fee goes up to $500 per eligible employee, which that really hits home. So this is why we're just out educating. Any questions I would love to help with.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds no bueno. So we definitely want to make sure that we're avoiding that. So in setting up a retirement plan that is not CalSavers, because we want to make sure that we get those, benefits both on the employee side and on the employer side, what are some factors that business owners should consider in looking at other retirement plan options?
Very good question. So I met with an employer last week, and their big concern was they had previous experience with the 401k. 5,500s are a headache. So if you go with a simple IRA, there's no 5,500, but there's 2 different options to match, like I went over. Now the other option is they want other things like a defined benefit plan. So they put a 401k in place so they can start establishing or rewarding those key employees. So.
Got it. Okay, so things like, do we want to be able to just do the same for everyone? Everyone's treated the same, or do we want to also use this plan to maybe be able to incentivize certain employees that are like those indispensable employees to really want to stay, or maybe reward employees in different ways? That's the kinds of like flexibility you're going to look at in plans. Any other considerations that you think through?
Really, I always tell someone just start with something very simple. Simple IRAs are not simple. They're simple enough. Kind of funny to say that. I'm not pushing them over 401ks. It's just that I like to get employees used to seeing money coming out of their paychecks prior to establishing a 401k, which, yeah. Because I mean, we obviously want to do what's best for an employer, and I have plenty of that are better suited for 401ks, and they are, but simple IRAs are definitely the way to go for a startup if you're not quite sure where you should start.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, because the
What is,
contribution.
oh, I'm sorry. What is the difference between a simple IRA and a SEP IRA? I've heard those terms out, and I'm probably not the only one that doesn't know what's the difference.
That's a very good question. So a simple IRA is one where essentially you can have as many employees. You're either doing a 2% automatic match for everyone in the plan, or 3% for everyone that's actually contributing to the plan. So it's kind of good for the business owners, because that way they're not putting 2%, let's say they have 50 employees, they're not doing all 50. If 30 of them are actually contributing to the plan, that's where they're contributing. Now a SEP IRA is if let's say the owner claims $100,000 for a salary. And then they put away, you know what, I'm going to put away 25% of my allowable interest, or allowable take home, which would be $25,000. That means if they're paying an employee, let's say $60,000, they have to put away 25% for them as well. So that'd be $15,000. So that's the big difference between a SEP. So SEPs are usually better for SEPs or owner Ks are amazing for basically a 1 or 2 owner operation. Husband and wife are perfect for that. I have plenty of electricians that are on that. A lot of painters are either in SEP or owner Ks, just all depends.
Got it. And then are SEPs and then owner or solo 401ks fairly similar? Is that kind of a pretty much the same thing? Maybe just different costs or different, ways to set them up?
Yeah, owner Ks are basically, there's just $100 setup fee, And then a SEP, there's nothing, but the contributions are different. So with an owner K, you can put a defined benefit plan. You can put all sorts of stuff behind it, while a SEP is a SEP IRA. So you're allowed, what was the last thing? I think 56,000, I think. I have to look again.
Well, it changes every year too. So that's
Yeah, I think it's
also a really,
57,000 this year. Yes, 56 last year.
yeah, it's also
Yeah.
a really good reason to work with a financial advisor. I don't need to be trying to keep up with all of this.
Yeah. Go ahead,
So
sorry.
if I have five or more, or I should say, do I have to have five or more employees to set up that retirement plan? I mean, you mentioned the solo 401ks. What if I have maybe just 2 or 3 employees? Like, would I still want to set up that retirement plan? Do I have to set it up? How does that work?
That's a really good question as well. So essentially, I'm working with an employer right now. They have 3 employees. Their goal for 2021 is to hire 6 more people. So they've been doing the interview process. This is what kind of brought them in conversation with me was, hey, a lot of these people are upset we don't have a benefit plan in place. So setting up a simple IRA, saying, hey, obviously you can put away 13,500 plus if you do, we're going to provide a 3% match. Definitely helps. Definitely helps. And that's one thing they had brought me in, and so far so good. And so I know if it's that, it's definitely attracting your key employees, because a lot of people right now are looking to work for employers that do provide good benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. What would be the main difference in cost between something like a simple IRA and a 401k plan?
So a 401k, I always tell people is that the more that we put into it at first, the cheaper it's going to be. So like I had a discussion earlier this week about with a business owner, and they were obviously looking to set up a 401k, and I said, hey, any outside assets, old 401ks, anything we can throw into this, the cheaper it's going to be. So I'd say cost is anywhere between like 1.8% for initial startups to cheapest I've seen is like 1.2%. And that just kind of gives you an idea, and that's annual cost on whatever goes in. But then also we can look at how many employees somebody has, and then how much each employee is going to be putting in, and do an estimate, and that'd make the plan even cheaper.
Got
So
it.
yeah,
So
well,
could employees have the opportunity to roll over any of their old 401ks as part of like setting up this plan?
yes. Yeah,
Cool.
so that's why I like to have conversations with people to educate them, because they're like, 401ks are expensive. I said, well, we can definitely save you money. Let's kind of look at the whole picture and see what's going on. So
Yeah. What happens then? Like the difference between a simple IRA and a 401k if that employee then leaves.
a simple IRA, they can take that IRA wherever they want. So let's just say, for instance, if they do want to set up with me, it can stay with me, or they can bring it wherever they want. They can put it at their own investment firm, maybe a Vanguard, wherever. 401k, it's like your 401k you have now. So let's just say we set it up with Transamerica, John Hancock, whoever that may be, it is there. And if you want to roll that over to an IRA, or if you want to roll it over into your new 401k, same thing. It's very flexible.
Got it. So then, if someone has a company with very little turnover versus a company with high turnover, would you recommend one versus the other?
I think it all depends on wages and how much people like seriously want to put away for retirement.
Got
Because
it.
if it's an older workforce, they're more likely they're more often than not they would like to put away more, and that's where we kind of have to get away from the simple and go to the 401k because of that.
Because the simple has different limits about how much people can save. Is that why?
Yes, yes. So a simple IRA right here is 13,500, unless you're over the age of 50, and then you're allowed to contribute 16,500 every year. And so the 401ks now, it's Safe Harbor, regular 401k, they're both the exact same, is 19,500 if you're under the age of 50. And then if you're over the age of 50, it's another 6,500, so $26,000 a year. So that's quite a bit of difference. We just have to see what fits out best. So if we have multiple people that are going to be in that range, and it benefits the business owners as well, that's usually one that we go with.
Totally. I love the amount that you are trying to dig in, understand that business so that you can actually provide a recommendation that works for them, and not just like everyone do this thing because it's the easy one for me.
Yeah, I know. I always do whatever's best for the employer because simple IRAs are a lot more work on our end, but that's okay. If it's what's best, I have no problem helping.
I appreciate that because it's what's best for us. So on a more personal note for you, what are some of the ways that your business has been affected since lockdown and since in the right now times, and like how are you adapting to flex with that?
Oh, at first it was a bunch of Zoom meetings like this. So
Yep.
man, a bunch of phone calls, and actually now I'm getting more in person, but we're doing the whole mask thing and everything's meeting outside.
Mhm.
So met with a couple of employers outside, talk to their employees, or I'm posting things like I'm leaving, or I'll email them. They'll put them out as far as postings what we're going to talk about. So it's not really open meetings anymore inside a room. It's more questions that they have the material I had posted, and they bring them back to me, and then we decide what plan is going to be best. If that
Totally.
kind of makes sense. We're still kind of meeting in person, but I'm not meeting everyone with the company. It's more just dealing with their questions and the business owners.
Does that make it take a little longer to sort through what option's going to be best?
It does, but in the end, I mean, we still get the right plan in place. So it's just I try to work with whoever I'm working with, like their comfort level. 'Cause I don't want anyone to be uncomfortable. If Zoom works out best, I mean, obviously very versatile. So
You're
yeah,
doing it. You're doing it right now.
yeah. I mean, I'll
Uh,
meet with people. However, I mean, if it's just a phone call, just to help get everything set up, that works out good too.
well, and honestly, sometimes in the right now times, phone calls seem like, oh, I don't have to be camera ready. Oh, yeah, let's do that one.
Oh,
Cool.
exactly,
It's
exactly. That's
it's almost pleasant now. You know, before it was like, oh, cool, we could see each other. It's like we're still meeting, and I feel like now we do that so much that it's like we don't need to see each other all the time.
yeah. It's become a convenience. Oh, let's Zoom. Oh, let's not. Let's just do a phone call.
Yeah, yeah, or whatever. Maybe an email. Maybe this meeting is an email. Um, have you switched up any of the offerings or found any new offerings or maybe see a change in what people are looking for in the right now times?
It's a little different right now just because CalSavers, they have to have something in place. So the offering's been kind of the same on our end. I will say that like if somebody has an existing 401k in place, we can assist with those. And usually I say you should be happening every year, but I always tell someone if they have not worked with us or me before, then say, hey, if you haven't looked at it and it's been 3, 5 years, however many years it's been, let's look at it because there's a good chance we can save you a ton of money as well. And people often ask like, what's the difference between a safe harbor 401k and a regular 401k?
Mhm.
And yeah, safe harbor is basically like, it's perfect for a dentist office, for instance. I'm going to use this now because I just set one up for them. So you have the dentist earning higher income than the front desk lady. So usually if you are what you consider highly compensated, in most plans is anyone who makes over 120,000 a year, you're limited to like 6 or 7% contributions into the plan versus putting as much as you want away. So a safe harbor enables you to put as much as away as you want. Now you can set it up if you are the boss, you're the owner. You can put it, okay, if you make over 120,000, you can put away 26,000 if you're over the age of 50. But the owner also has the ability to not match that person, but they can match anyone under the 120,000, or they can match everyone. Safe harbor, there's a bunch of different things you can do with it. And yeah,
I
I
feel
really
like
enjoy it.
that's definitely a scenario to get some good advice on when it's too flexible, then it's like, okay, wait, but how does it work? And how do I
Yep.
not get in trouble for doing it wrong? So
Yeah.
let's get some good advice.
Yep. And I would appreciate any questions. So at that time.
Yeah. What main ways are you getting new clients in the right now times? Because I know for a lot of people that has kind of shifted. Are you doing anything differently, or kind of where are those new clients coming from?
All right. So pre-COVID, I was bringing around our CalSaver flyer and just like literally going into businesses that I knew either I had a client at, or they're around the office, or I'm already doing business, which kind of educating them. Well, now obviously just word of mouth. So Zoom meetings, networking meetings, several different chamber events throughout different cities. Yeah, and then obviously existing clients talking about their friends who own businesses as well. So
Totally. Yeah, I think that is definitely a shift in the right now times from those kinds of like in-person things where we would get business to going, oh, okay, we've got to pivot. What else can we do that's not in person? Um, really quickly back to the CalSavers. Do you know why, like what prompted that? Do you know why that shift is happening?
well, it was kind of recognized. We're like one of 7, maybe 8 states now that are doing this, just because California alone, studies showed that 80% of the workforce does not have access to a retirement plan. And that 60% of those people were just basically going to rely on Social Security to live on. And we both know here in California, it's kind of hard to live on Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're basically trying to help people out, but I mean, there's a lot of pushback on it, a lot of lawsuits going on with it, especially with AB5 in effect right now, which obviously you had a meeting with that earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And we'll see
it's
what
affecting.
happens with that too. I mean, I think there's a prop on the ballot about it. I mean, these are the kinds of things why I love having professionals who are experts in those things keep me informed in all of these areas where I am not an expert. Um, Speaking of not being an expert, are there any mistakes that you are seeing employers make in managing their retirement plans or setting up their retirement plans when you go and review them? Are you seeing a lot of common like red flags?
Yes. So majority of the red flags come with 401ks. So that's usually a lot. There's a lot of different issues that you can be audited on. That's why I always tell someone, if you have a 401k, let me run a report for you and I can give you what basically anything that pops up in our system, what you could be audited on. Not saying you're going to be, it's just better to take advantage of those. And some things are just so easy to fix. And it's just like corrective distribution. So like that would be if that person's highly compensated, they're putting away 10% of their check. At the end of the year, they get 3% thrown back into the plan. That raises red flag. So helped out a client the other day because their 401k plan, he thought he was just getting more take home. No, he wasn't getting more take home. Yeah.
Ooh, oh no.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a fun conversation I was having with their HR department because she didn't know what was going on. So I just went in and educated them, and we're switching them over to a safe harbor because of it. So because the majority of
Yeah.
their workforce was making over that $120,000 mark. So
Yeah, I feel like especially with employees' retirements, because that's a benefit that the company is offering to those employees to, make them want to stay. You really want to make sure that that plan is managed well because you want it to be a positive reflection of working with your company and that you want to take care of them and not turn into this negative reflection that you're
yeah.
not managing things well. So,
Oh,
so you would recommend that 401k review about once a year?
yeah, so like we do it automatically once a year, but if somebody hasn't, they usually say whoever they're with, it can be ADP, PayPal, whoever that's with, they say usually about every 3 years they'll look at it. But as a plan grows, it gets cheaper and it should get cheaper. So that's where we just kind of work with our clients. And I always tell people with a 401k, you're going to have it through whatever provider that's going to be best for you, but I'm going to be your local resource. So I know people hate calling 1-800 number. I mean, actually, we all love it, right? No, we don't.
No
So
one likes calling that.
yeah, I'm your local resource. I'm usually pretty close. I try to keep my schedule depending on your hours. 6 a.m. is a little rough sometimes. I got to get my girl to school.
I don't even want to talk to my kids at 6 a.m. So I definitely won't be calling you then. Do you have any final recommendations for business owners?
Yes, so there's new startup tax, basically tax rewards for this. So based on the Secure Act, I have it all printed out here. Prior years past, you were able to get about a $500 credit per se. Last year and prior for every year, basically the first 3 years of a plan. Now that's because of this year, and they're trying to incentivize employers to set up a plan. It's $5,000. You're able, basically, it's 50% up to $5,000 of any cost that you have with the plan. So usually for a 401k plan, it more than takes care of that initial startup cost and everything else. So
And is that the time where the cost is the highest? Is that setup versus like the ongoing maintenance cost?
Oh yeah.
So now's a great time to set up before.
Now's a great time.
I
Yes.
love it. Well, Derick, thank you so much for your thoughts and insight and information as always. If you guys would like to reach out to Derick, if you have more questions, I probably will have more. But here is his contact information. It'll also go out in the follow-up email. Our next workshop is going to be on October 15th, where we will have Blake Maxwell talking about insurance and technology. So that will be super exciting for me. I hope you guys can join us. Thanks again, Derick. I really appreciate it.
You are more than welcome. It's my pleasure.